Alright guys, it's the main event. $700 game, maybe more, around that or something like that. This is a holy grail game. A lot of people are looking for this. This is also a gold star game. Meaning that I had to beat like a bunch of other games to earn a gold star so I could pick what I wanted to play. And this has been on the shelf for a couple of years, and I finally got around to playing it, and I finished it. And it's Rule of Rose on the PlayStation 2. Let's talk about it. Alright, there's a lot of controversy behind Rule of Rose, and I have a lot of notes here. I don't know that I want to go over all this, but maybe I do. I'm sure you guys want to hear about it. People talk about this game, but I don't really know a lot of people that have played it. And this game is rare. It's pretty rare. I do see it around occasionally at conventions and stuff. And I bought mine at a store, you know, a retro game store. I didn't pay nearly $700 for it, but it wasn't cheap. But the claim to fame is that this game was like banned in multiple countries for condoning like underage lesbianism and violence against children. And so the underage lesbianism, I don't get that. It has some young girls that like hug and, you know, they kiss each other on the cheek and things like that, but they're just kind of, it's not anything you wouldn't see in a, you know, an elementary school with girls. So I don't know what the deal is with that. It does have some kind of uneasy children's violence in it, though. I will say that. So let's just dive in. You play as Jennifer, and you find yourself at this abandoned orphanage where this sort of like Lord of the Flies situation is taken over. And the kids there have developed this ruling system called the Aristocrat Club. And they basically make all the kids in the school compete in these scavenger hunts every month to be either rewarded or punished. And the gameplay style, while it looks like survival horror, and I guess in a way it is survival horror, it's really more of like a scavenger hunt. You wander around, you know, trying to find items to advance the story. And you have this dog named Brown. And you basically find an item and then let Brown sniff it, and he like leads you to the next item. And then you pick up that item and let him sniff that, and it leads you to the next item. And the whole map is just these like huge maze-like areas that I feel are intentionally obtuse and hard to navigate with. And it's hard to get around. And the map they give you is like the hottest of garbage. It's almost unreadable. And I really dislike it. Now you can see here from the game that the cutscenes look fantastic. The game looks really good. This is a PlayStation 2 game. The music's also incredible. It's all like a string quartet, and it's really well done. And it's very well orchestrated and composed and creepy and atmospheric. You know, I think the presentation of this game is really good for what it's trying to do. It's trying to set out and create this kind of uneasy atmosphere, and they nail that. The voice acting in this is like hit or miss. They're all very English or, you know, Welsh or Irish or Scottish, you know, basically from the British Isles. But a lot of the dialogue is just like grunting, you know, like whenever somebody sees something, they just kind of like, There's like minutes that dialogue just sound like that. And that's really annoying. That's so annoying. Also, for anybody that's played this, you've watched any other reviews, they'll tell you the combat is super clunky. And it is. The combat is very clunky in this, and landing a hit is quite difficult. I mean, really difficult. Luckily, you can just run by most of the enemies in this game. Sometimes you get pinned in an arena and they won't let you leave till you kill the enemy, or you have to fight a boss or whatever. And it's annoying and hard and frustrating. We know all that. But most of the enemies, as you're just kind of exploring around the levels, you just run right by them. And there's only enemies half the time. The other half of the time, you're just really exploring. Also, every time you open a flipping door in this game, there's a loading screen. And they last, I don't know, man, 5, 6, 7 seconds. But considering you open about 5 million doors in the game, this adds up a lot. Also, the puzzles and the scavenger hunting can be really obtuse, And it can be really tricky to figure out just, where you're supposed to flip and be going and what you're supposed to do. I resulted in having to use a walkthrough for a lot of this game, and I hate doing that. But every time I looked at the walkthrough, I was like, yep, never would have figured that out. Like, there's no chance I would have figured it out. There's also crap in this game where, like, clues will lead you to a trap. like Brown the dog will lead you to the wrong location on purpose to mess you up. And, like, the only way to really succeed is to know that's going to happen. So I guess you're supposed to, like, go through these 30-minute scavenger hunt sequences knowing that, like, step number 9 out of 10 is a trap, and you're supposed to randomly walk the other direction and go through a door, to go the right way. And if you don't, you just die, and then you lose your progress, and you have to, open your loaded save game and do the 30-minute scavenger hunt again. That's really flippin' annoying. That is really, really, really annoying. And, there's esoteric stuff like, check a random box that doesn't stand out in the environment for no reason to find a rabbit's foot that is the search item that your dog's supposed to use. Like, in a random room on the other side of the map. Like, it's so irritating. I would say if you're going to play this game, use a guide. I don't really know how in the world you would ever finish this game without, like, blindly wandering around for, like, 300 hours and trying to write your own guide and map to the game. I just don't understand how you can do it. I really I don't know how it's possible. It's just too obtuse. It really is. I wish I could say that this game is a hidden gem. I really do. But it's just not very fun to play, and I really had to kind of, like, force myself through it. Every day I had to say to myself, like, before I play any other game that I'm really enjoying, I'm going to sit down and play Rule of Rose. I'm going to do, like, one chapter, or I'm going to at least play for 1 hour. And that was a challenge. It was a struggle. The game is slightly disturbing. It has some sort of disturbing cutscenes. Nothing's ultra gruesome or gory, but it's just kind of off-putting. And, it is. That's a good way to put it. It has an off-putting vibe to it. The children are really cruel, and their whole existence kind of centers around, like, ostracizing, bullying, and torturing each other, which is, a father of 2 daughters. I don't like that. I didn't like to see it. To add to the frustration, the game has one of the slowest, it has some of the slowest pacing I've ever seen in a game. It's just like it trudges through the mud slowly and draws everything out so that disgusting off-puttedness that I mentioned, like, really wears on you. And that coupled with, like, that foreboding and heavy atmosphere makes it a really challenging play. On top of that, the whole freaking story is told out of order. It takes place over, like, 12 months, and you'll play, like, June, and then you'll play December, and then you'll play February, and then you'll play October. And a lot of it is, like, disjointed and doesn't really seem to work together, and it's kind of hard to figure out what's going on, and it's just incoherent a lot of the time. So Rule of Rose, in the end, I don't know how I would rate this. It's hard. The game definitely made me feel something, that I've never really experienced in another game before, but it wasn't really a feeling that, like, I enjoyed or wanted to experience again. I think of, like, these movies you see, the two that just pop into my mind are Children of Men, and then that Charlize Theron movie, Monster, where you watch it and you're like, okay, this is undoubtedly a great movie. I get it. It's well directed. It's well acted. The story has something to say. But after you're done watching it, you're like, I never want to see that again. Like, it's a one and done. To me, Rule of Rose is like that. It's a one and done game. Ultra heavy hitter Rule of Rose. Is it worth playing? Yes. If you're like a video game aficionado or like a survival horror fan, or you're just into the history of video games, I feel like this is something you have to play. But I doubt you're going to enjoy it. I watched some walkthroughs of some areas I got stuck in online, and there were some people that played it and, like, really enjoyed this game. I don't get it. Like, I don't get it. Maybe if you just thrive on, like, awkwardness and weirdness, then, that it's more suited to you. But For me, like I said, the father of two daughters and a survival horror fan, like a self-proclaimed survival horror fan, it didn't feel like much like a survival horror game. It was just like a scavenger hunt in like a gross area. So I would give Rule of Rose a 6 out of 10. It's okay. The gameplay is frustrating and kind of bad. The gameplay is like a 4. The artistic merit of the game, like the concept for it, and the presentation, like the graphics and the sound design, are like an 8. So it averages out to about a 6. And that's what I'm coming up with kind of on the spot. But I feel like that's accurate. Is it worth $700? To play it? No. Absolutely not. You can get more fun buying Slay the Spire for $7. Like it's 1,000 times more fun than this. Is it worth it for an investment? I don't know. But maybe it's worth it for like a conversation piece. I keep this like on a, separated from the PS2 games, on a little shelf where like a display area, and people walk in and they're like, oh my gosh, Rule of Rose, and they want to talk about it. So now I can actually say I've played it. As frustrating as it was, you need a guide for this game. I don't know how you get through without it. So Rule of Rose, 6 out of 10. It's okay. Gold Star game. I kind of feel bad wasting my gold star for this game, but I feel good having it off the backlog.